This is the information I wish I would have had when I first started to experience the symptoms of Raynaud's. My personal experience with it was some years back, like 2018-ish. I was walking at a park and suddenly my hand just goes white. It just goes white, and it was the scariest freaking thing I've ever experienced. Hindsight, it wasn't that bad, but again, when something weird happens to your body that you're not used to, it seems like this is the end of the world. Like this is how I go, like with this white hand. Of course, going to Google all the things, it's like, I don't even know what it was. I'm pretty sure it told me this is Raynaud's, but like reading it, it seemed like it was the end of the world. And it probably took about 20 minutes to go away, because again, I didn't really know what to do when it happened. It was just happening and I was just looking at it and I didn't know what to do. Now, on kind of like the other side of things, I've experimented with many different ways to prevent Raynaud's from happening, and these are just some of the things that I've learned. I'm by no means an expert. I'm not a medical doctor, so take this as just from somebody that has had Raynaud's for over 5 years, and these are just some of the things that have worked for me personally, so maybe they'll work for you. So what is Raynaud's? Raynaud's is a vascular condition that causes spasms in the small blood vessels leading to the toes, the fingers, but also ears and even your nips. This limits the blood flow and causes symptoms like discoloration of the fingers, a little bit of numbness, and also this tingling pins and needles type of feeling, which is not very pleasant. I would say it's borderline like painful, but if anything, it's just very freaking uncomfortable. And Raynaud's can be either primary, meaning there's really no underlying cause to it, it just is as it is by itself. It's idiopathic origin, meaning we don't know what causes it, or it can be secondary, which means there's an underlying condition that is associated with it. Most noteworthy, it is associated with autoimmune type of conditions like mixed connective tissue disease, lupus, scleroderma, and rheumatoid arthritis. And there are several triggers that could facilitate Raynaud's, and number one, most noteworthy one, it is the cold. When it's cold, that's when it tends to flare up the most for most people. And it might not necessarily be in the dead of winter. It might be being in the freezer section of the grocery store and reaching something in the freezer or the cooler. It might be touching a cold doorknob when you've been warm inside. For me personally, I tend to experience it the worst on the cusp seasons, so in the fall and in the spring when there are big temp swings. So thinking like, okay, it's like nice and sunny, 75 degrees, warm, and then it plummets to like low 40s, upper 30s. That's when I tend to kind of get it more frequently than in the dead of winter, like it is February right now, and not really experiencing it a whole lot, but in the fall it was a different story. Stress is another major trigger for Raynaud's. So when you think about when you're in a sympathetic, this like fight or flight state, all of the blood goes to your organs, to your core, in order for you to deal with the stressor. So that's when we tend to get really cold and clammy. So we want to build up our stress resiliency and build up the toolkit of how we handle stressful situations. I think stress is 100% something that has contributed to Raynaud's for me, and since I've learned a lot of coping tools and breathing tools and just learning how to calm myself down, how to regulate myself, that's what's made probably the biggest difference in the duration and the severity of the the phenomenon. Another one is cigarette or tobacco or nicotine use in general. That could also trigger it as well. Then we've got excess caffeine consumption, or just caffeine consumption in general. Same with alcohol use and some illicit drug use as well. There are also certain medications that have been associated with developing Raynaud's, or at least developing it while one might be on those medications, like beta blockers, some migraine medications, and some chemotherapy drugs. Occupation where your hands are in contact with a lot of vibrating tools, like in construction or even piano playing, has also been linked to Raynaud's. And of course, like I mentioned, having an underlying condition in general, especially of the autoimmune nature, could also be the primary trigger for it. Raynaud's also tends to happen more in women, and I can count on both of my cold little hands, like people I know personally that have Raynaud's. I hike and camp a lot, and it was a concern at one point. I was like, well, how am I gonna handle the 30-degree camping when, you know, my hands just go cold? And these are just kind of the practices that I had to implement in order for me to enjoy the grand outdoors and not have to worry about being cold at all times. So the number one thing is to get warm, to stay warm, especially your hands, especially your feet, especially your ears. You want to keep these suckers really freaking warm, and with that you want to dress in layers. You want to dress in warm layers, so that way you're able to shed things and you're able to put them back on as needed if you get cold. Again, that means having an extra sweater in your car. That means having those gloves laying around somewhere that you can put them on when you get cold. The types of clothing that you wear really does make a difference. Ditch the cotton. Ditch the cotton, especially if you're going to be doing an activity that's sweating. Cotton holds on to water, so if there's like a cool breeze, you'll instantly get cold. Using something like a wool type of material, or just for a natural fiber or a synthetic sweat wicking type of fabric, that is the best. So I usually alternate between, but something that is wool is just going to be the best thing at keeping you warm. Same with socks. The Darn Tough socks and Smart Wool and the REI brand, those are all really awesome. Plus they have like the cutest little designs. Look at this bear. We love this bear. Anyway, wool's going to be your friend. You definitely want to make sure that you're layering and staying really warm in terms of like your clothes. Down jackets are also really nice. I got a really nice down jacket at freaking Goodwill for 10 bucks. It's awesome. As far as hands, gloves. Keep gloves absolutely everywhere. I have it in my car, I have it in my purse, I have it in my backpack, I have it in my partner's car. Gloves are everywhere, and I'm always on the hunt for a good glove. A layering system for my hands that has worked really well is a wool liner type of glove with a mitten. And it seems extra, it seems excessive. However, what's nice about a mitten is that there's room in there, so there's like the heat that's there. It can circulate, and so that way you don't get as cold than if you were just wearing a glove. So again, glove liners and a mitten, or just a mitten by itself, is way better than gloves. So on really cold days, I do mittens, and on really cold days, I do the combination of these two. Another thing is hand warmers. Hand warmers are a game changer, especially if you're an outdoorsy person. I have two types of hand warmers. One is a rechargeable kind. So they look like little pads like this, and they have 3 settings on them of the degree of warmth, 1, 2, and 3, 3 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. And they work so good. I've used them on day hikes, I've used them on walks around the neighborhood, and they're great. They're awesome. Best investment of like what was it, 2025. They're also rechargeable with this USB-C cable. It comes with this like double port. I'll link it below. I got it on Amazon. I don't love shopping on Amazon, but this was one of those like weird niche things that is on there. And it was under 20 bucks. So again, I think it's definitely worth it, because the second option is single use hand warmers. And I have these suckers stashed away just like I do with the gloves. This is like backup plan. If I get really cold and like the battery runs out on those things or can't find my gloves, these are everywhere. I always carry extras when I backpack or camp, and usually I end up giving it to someone else that doesn't even have Raynaud's because they get so cold, but I'm so prepared with all the other things, I don't need the hand warmers. These I bought like Costco size bag of, and I got it, REI sells it, Amazon sells it. These things are good. So anyway, that's your hands and feet. What about the rest of your body? You also want to keep your core warm and your ears warm. So a hat, a headband, those are all really nice. Smart Wool makes these headbands that are wool. So again, it's breathable, but it also keeps you really, really warm. And then a layer that is, again, a natural fiber like a wool or a sweat wicking type of material, synthetic material, really, really good options. Fleece lined leggings and fleece lined pants are also really great in the winter. Yes, they look bulky. Yes, they're ugly, but who cares? You're just warm and it's comfortable. Addressing the next big trigger for Raynaud's, stress. Learning some self-regulating techniques will be a game changer. So breathing techniques, really slowing down the breathing, learning how to properly take an expansive 360 breath and just zen out. When a Raynaud's attack happens, that's the number one thing that I do to minimize the severity and the duration of it, and that's just deep breaths. I'm not going to go way too into the types of different stress management type of techniques or resilience building type of techniques. In general, just building up your stress resiliency is going to be a game changer, not only with Raynaud's, but if you have an underlying health condition, it's just something that is going to do wonders. Now, if you're smoking or doing illicit drugs, it should be a no-brainer to quit at this point, because those are major triggers, not only for Raynaud's, but for a slew of other health conditions. So if there's a sign for you to do it, that is literally it. It's time to quit. And there are several things that you can put in your body that can help with Raynaud's. And number one thing is just, it's warm stuff. And if you know anything about traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, or even Ayurveda, they all kind of follow those same principles where we should be eating warm things in the winter. And this is even more important for those that are challenged with Raynaud's. Staying away from cold foods like smoothies, like salads or cold salads, ice cream, all of those things are not going to help with you feeling warm throughout the day, throughout the season. Making soups, stews, chilies, that is where it's at. Also drinking warm beverages, especially caffeine-free warm beverages like herbal teas or just warm water. Limiting or cutting out caffeine could be really helpful as well. This one I personally really struggle with. I love a coffee. I went like 4 years without coffee. That was one of the things I've cut out, and it really does help with Raynaud's for me. However, I at this point, I'm just enjoying having coffee. It might be just for a while. It might be temporary, but at this point, I'm enjoying coffee, and it doesn't seem to really trigger the Raynaud's for me at this point, but I know that I would see even more benefits if I quit the coffee. The coffee's hard. Also, minimizing refined starchy carbs and added sugars. This is just a great tip, suggestion for anybody, whether you have a chronic health condition or not. It is just a good idea to get rid of the junk and to invite in more whole nutrient dense foods, good quality proteins, lots of fiber from vegetables, especially non-starchy veggies. And if you're going to eat starchy veggies like root vegetables and healthy fats. Healthy fats are also important for us to absorb fat-soluble vitamins and for hormone regulation. Staying well hydrated is another really important thing to do. Again, regardless of whatever condition that you have, it's always a good idea to get this cellular hydration for our body. Incorporating warming herbs, and it includes things like cinnamon, ginger, turmeric, cayenne pepper, black pepper, cloves, all of those things you can incorporate in your cooking. And again, these are all really earthy, warm type of herbs that first, they taste amazing, and second, it does it warms up your body. A couple of extra things that I've done that has really helped me to kind of curb the effects of Raynaud's, and one is acupuncture. Traditional Chinese medicine in general. Acupuncture was a really, really important tool in my toolbox for me to not have as many instances of Raynaud's. And there's been other benefits from doing acupuncture as well for my autoimmune journey. But in general, if you're a little skeptical of it, I'll just be your first account to say that it can work, especially when paired with traditional Chinese medicine herbs, which quite often include things like cinnamon and ginkgo and black pepper and things like that. Those are just a combination of tools in your toolbox to see if it might work for you. Again, it's not for everyone, but for me, the acupuncture is a game changer. I'm currently seeing an acupuncturist right now, and I haven't been cold. I haven't been as cold, even with the temps in the single digits and even below zero on a few days. I was able to do a hike in those single digit temps and was just fine. I was never cold. I never got Raynaud's. It was totally fine. And again, that's not all just acupuncture. I still dressed really, really warm. I had the hand warmers with me as a backup, and in general, stayed really hydrated, drank a warm beverage. All of those things, they kind of compound to this armor against Raynaud's. And the last thing I wanted to mention that's like a little bougie, a little extra, getting an automatic starter on my car. My car is a bit older, and I think I went to Best Buy, like the Geek Squad or whatever they have, and it cost me like $300, but it's been the best investment that I've made because I am like perpetually cold in being warm. With all that said, having Raynaud's is not the end of the world. It's just about being well prepared and knowing what your specific triggers are. And if you take anything out of this, it's just be warm, like drink warm beverages, eat warm food, dress in warm layers, and figure out a way to be calm, to get really grounded and get really calm, especially in stressful situations, so that way it doesn't trigger Raynaud's, or if you're in the moment having Raynaud's, you can self-regulate and bring yourself down and hopefully reduce the duration of it. At some point, I will share my full autoimmune journey, I guess. If anyone's interested in seeing that video, I will work on that. But that's all I've got for you today. I hope this was helpful. Enjoy the rest of your day and stay warm, my friends. Bye.